I've heard a theory from Hassan Piker that Alex Jones is a CIA operative.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Because he'll spout out like 10% of the truth. He's like, we should have never gone to war in Iraq. The reason why we went to war is because of extraterrestrial vampires. And you're just like, what, dude, what? What? It's like, no. He's right. And then he whips you with, and what happens is like, he'll say truthful things. He gives you a grade of truth. And then he says something absolutely ridiculous right afterwards. And what it does, it not only... People not only disassociate from the crazy shit that he says, but also from the truth. Because now people, every time you say something like, the government is in cahoots with corporations, they immediately think you're, a conspiracy theorist instead of just stating factual things that have evidence. And I think that's what it is. Like, they're trying to destroy any sort of dissent by making it look ridiculous.
Yeah.
With people like Alex Jones, there's no way this guy, unless he's like he's off his medication, like Kanye West. There's no way it's real, And then when Nick Fuentes went on his fucking show, or was it? No, it was Kanye West went on a show, and he's like, "No, he's like Hitler." I was like, I like Hitler. There's many good things I like about Hitler, and Alex Jones' face is like, you mean some of the things, the uniforms, they're like, and he's like, no, I like Hitler, and he's like, even Alex Jones was like, he knows he is not out of his mind. He knows, because he'll say things like there's extraterrestrial vampires, but then when you say, oh, Hitler did good things, he'll back off.
Yeah.
So it's just like there is a cognitive person in there.
There's a limit to
there is a limit. There is critical thinking, and you know where to draw the line, so everything that you say is made up.
What's the first one up?
So first one up is AIDS and the African community. Statements that the AIDS epidemic was actually started by the U.S. government to disenfranchise and weaken the African American community. These ideas have been promoted by mainstream black media and celebrities, furthering conspiratorial beliefs. Some of the theories state that a cure for the disease already exists, but pharmaceutical companies are withholding it from the general public. Some attribute the popularity of the conspiracy theory to historically consistent mistreatment of the African American community, and say that such mistreatment has led to mass anxiety and distrust of American governmental systems.
Yeah, I don't think that it's actually true that like America started that, but I think that it's true that they willfully ignored it and suppressed information about it, and maybe even propagated like misinformation about it. Because, it largely affects groups of people that America typically is either okay with leaving out, or at worst actively undermines either the homosexual community or low-income drug using communities. I think both of those kind of demographics, the U.S. would be fine if they just kind of went away, especially in the 70s and 80s.
Yeah.
What a heavy topic to start with.
Well, these are political conspiracy theories, and usually they're pretty heavy, So, I feel like there's multiple components to this theory, and thinking about it, I'm like, all right, this is kind of it has that anti-capitalist vibe to it, where it starts talking about the pharmaceutical companies. I think that it wasn't necessarily created to weaken the African American community. Let's figure that out. Do you think it was created? Do you think it was man-made, or do you think it was?
No, I don't think the AIDS virus is man-made.
Okay, so
but I also don't really understand where it came from. So
I don't think anybody does.
I say that with zero scientific background. My background is 100% in humanities, historical research. I don't know dick all about science. True.
I work in a preclinical research center, but
the virus is man-made.
Okay. I'm obviously not a PhD scientist or anything like that. My background is archaeology, history, geography, blah blah blah. But I agree with you that AIDS, the virus, is most likely not man-made, right? But there is a component in me, that anti-capitalist component, that kind of like tells me that if they did have the cure, I feel like they wouldn't put it out, because for a profit motive in the medical field, if you have a cure for something, that means you can't treat it anymore.
Yeah,
and
that's a valid supposition.
That's the only thing I would really believe in that conspiracy theory, or something that has real validity. Because and it does make sense. These massive corporations, even if they did find a cure, they wouldn't tell you, and they wouldn't give it to you, because then what are they going to treat? And I feel like the same kind of thing goes for cancer. We have so much money in cancer research, especially in a private ownership.
Well, that's already been kind of semi-proven, right? I mean, doesn't Cuba have a lung cancer? It's not like a cure, but it's like a preventative treatment that they have.
From what I understand,
yeah.
Yes. From what I understand, yes.
Yeah, I mean, there's a huge profit motive to keep, large, expensive diseases not cured. I mean, it's the same thing with any, I don't know, I don't know how to phrase this, donation-worthy thing, right? Where, I think that's what we talked about last week, or maybe it was the week before, where, Democrats will never actively, try to fix, abortion, for example, because it's much more lucrative for them to campaign on abortion than it is for them to actually fix abortion. And if they fix abortion, then they can't. So it's the same thing with the pharmaceutical companies, where it's if they cure AIDS, for example, they can no longer make billions of dollars on AIDS medicine. So they have as a business, it would be foolish of them to even try to cure AIDS.
Yeah, no, exactly. So
they're disincentivized to even try to do that.
So so that is the only actual proponent. Jesus Christ, I cannot speak of the actual conspiracy theory that I could see as being somewhat valid or having some backing.
Yeah,
I
don't know. AIDS epidemic, that's a hard one. I think, like I said, my kind of final position is it was not manufactured, but it was certainly not. Well, I mean, we know that it wasn't really widely publicized or reported on, and I am in no means an expert on this era in history. I actually don't like modern American history very much, but from what I understand, it was willfully swept under the rug, and nobody really wanted to face kind of the truth about the AIDS epidemic. It was one of those things you just kind of didn't talk about.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Okay, well, let's move on to the next one. I
will say there's a really good movie about this.
Really?
Yeah, it's called. What the hell is the name of that movie? It's Matthew McConaughey, Jared Leto.
Matthew McConaughey's been in every single movie.
No, he won an Oscar for this one too. It's about a cowboy, a rodeo cowboy who gets AIDS.
Okay.
It's Matthew McConaughey.
Oh, I think I remember.
God damn it, I'm blanking on the name of this movie. Anyway, I don't know if you've noticed a running theme where every time we talk about anything.
Cowboy. No, I think it was Matthew McConaughey impression. No, it's pretty garbage.
Let me see. Let me just Google Matthew.
While you're doing that real quick, I'm going to grab a beer.
Hold on. I think. Oh, no, you're good. My dogs are outside. Matthew McConaughey AIDS movie. Matthew McConaughey AIDS cowboy.
It's such a weird fucking...
I forget what the name of this movie is. Dallas Buyers Club is what it was called. It was very good.
Interesting.
Yeah. Do you mind grabbing me a beer as well? Hell yeah, brother. Yeah. Matthew McConaughey was like a rodeo guy. He wasn't like a cowboy. He was I guess that's open for interpretation whether or not that's a cowboy, but he was a rodeo guy, and then he just banged a lot of women, I think, and he got AIDS that way. And then so he started going to treatment, and then he ran into Jared Leto, who was a fucking hate Jared Leto. I will begrudgingly admit that Jared Leto's not a terrible actor, but
he's also a psychopath.
Yeah. Anyway, what was the next? So that was AIDS. That was the AIDS epidemic. That's a nice breezy topic.
Real light.
Yeah, a nice breezy topic to start with.
Let's take a look at the next topic.
Vaccine hesitancy. Is reluctance and often refusal to vaccinate oneself or one's children from fear of rare vaccination complications. It is often encouraged by conspiracy theories. A belief that a link exists between vaccines and autism has been widely disproven, but false information continues to circulate and to found such claims of conspiracy. Opposition to vaccination was named one of the top 10 threats to public health in 2019 by the WHO, and its prevalence is increasing. I don't know if there's a real conspiracy theory here. What's the conspiracy?
I mean, well, it's some people believe it to be a conspiracy, which makes it a conspiracy theory. Where do we start with this? There was one article that tried to link autism with vaccinations.
Mm-hmm.
back, what was it, 20 years ago?
Even earlier, because this was Rob Schneider was like the real big first guy to talk about this. Remember Rob Schneider?
Yeah, Rob Schneider, the guy who played
Adam
every
Sandler?
ethnicity but himself.
Yeah.
His own ethnicity.
Yeah, he was. I think he was one of the early. There was another actress. It was like Christy Alley, or I don't want to like slander anybody, but it was a woman actress. I forget who it was specifically, but it was like Rob Schneider and her, and they were like huge proponents of this like whole like vaccine causes autism spiel, which has since widely been disproven. But yeah, I remember the original article was like it was a non-peer-reviewed like just janky article, but then people ran with it like they often do.
Oh yeah, you just need just that one little fucking tidbit, and people are like, there it is. I told you. Well, yeah, and it's obviously does not lead to autism. I think our society leads to autism.
Well.
I think not enough was known about autism for the longest period of time, and as we go on throughout science and throughout psychology and different types of studies, people realize it's a spectrum more than just yes
for
and
sure,
no.
yeah. I mean, a lot of that science has widely been just, but like there's like we no longer have something called Asperger's anymore. Like it's just it's just variations on like the spectrum of autism.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well. Yeah, I don't know. There's not a lot to say about this one. I don't think it's like a conspiracy theory. It is like just pretty much true. Like, yeah, there is a huge vaccine hesitancy among Americans in particular because of the right wing, and then Trump did a ton to like perpetuate these myths. A lot of celebrities kind of carried the ball on that one. And yeah, there's zero evidence, as far as I understand, scientifically to link vaccines with any type of because that's not how. First of all, autism isn't like contagious, and it's not like you don't just develop autism. It's like, as far as I understand, it's like a genetic.
It is a
you're
genetic
born with
thing.
it. Yeah.
Unless I think I might be wrong, but I think there can be chances after like serious brain injury. Like,
yeah, but I
brain,
don't know if that would be autism per se. Like, that wouldn't be a autism spectrum disorder thing. That would just be like, some kind of like reduced brain function because of like a serious head trauma or something.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
No, you're probably right, but I know there's some types of like disorders after like dramatic injuries and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm just linking PTSD with autism, and that's not correct.
Well, there is like, I mean, apart from the whole autism conversation, there is a real problem with vaccine hesitancy. Like diseases that had supposedly been eradicated are now like coming back. Like smallpox is coming back. Polio is coming back.
There's like a couple cases of polio in New York. I remember a couple of years back
like
during the
fucking
COVID.
diseases that haven't been around since like the 40s and 50s are now like all of a sudden like rearing their heads again.
Fucking idiots.
Because of vaccine, because of people like not wanting to get their vaccines. And like this is where the authoritarian in me comes out, where I'm like, just fucking force them to get vaccines. Like you either go to get vaccines or you go to prison. Like, I don't know, man. Like if this isn't that big a deal.
Yeah.
Like most of the world is like trying to like do everything they can to get vaccines, and you get some fucking Long Island mom that's like, I don't know, I think we're gonna wait till the science is a little more clear. Meanwhile, her kids are like bringing polio back, and it's like,
yeah.
What
the
fuck are you
science
doing?
is out. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? The science is out. The science has been out for decades.
Yeah, one of the most radicalizing events of my life was when I worked for 6 months at a Whole Foods.
God damn.
Yeah, it's just watching those fucking people like want the like. There's the joke of like not wanting to like have lasers touch your food, so they have to key in like the barcodes. I was a cashier at a Whole Foods for a little while. They didn't want like the scan. They didn't want their food to be scanned. Because they didn't want lasers to touch their food. So I had to like take their and like key in the barcode. There's like a meme of these people, but it was like I can't tell you how many times I actually had to do that as a Whole Foods cashier.
They're like the vaccination.
Yes, that's 100%. These people oftentimes aren't on the right. They're like liberals. They're like weird. They're yoga crystal mama, like yoga doers, like Whole Foods shopping white women that are like anti-vaccine.
What's a laser? What's a laser?
Well, I mean, lasers like that's
a laser
not
just
raise a piece of light.
Photon.
Yeah, it's that's like a whole other conversation about the like they don't understand the science of a laser, let alone vaccines. But like, yeah, that was like where when I was watching those people do that, I was like, oh, we're doomed. We're doomed as a society.
It's like we're giving them they're sticking microchips in us, and I'm just like, dude, you realize how big a microchip is, like, right? Like, you think they developed a microchip that's like in the liquid form? Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah,
absolute psychopaths. All right, well, I mean, this has been going on for way too long, anyways. Everybody's gone through this whole fucking Joe Rogan bullshit conspiracy theory about vaccines and stuff.
Yeah, so and this is also like a really topical thing. Like, we didn't touch on like the whole like myocardic reactions or whatever. Like there was a couple of people like where you had like a 1 in a million chance of having some kind of heart reaction or whatever.
Fuck's sake.
But yeah, but that was like the reason that people like took that and ran with it is because like yeah, that happens with any vaccine. But anyway, yeah, I don't know. This is also too recent. We lived through this like last year and before. Yeah. We're still kind of living through this, so I don't really want to talk about that. That's just too
PTSD, bros.
Area 51, also known as Dreamland and Paradise Ranch, is a U.S. Air Force base located within the Nevada Test and Training Range, about 120 miles. I don't know. I've never heard of it being referred to as Dreamland or Paradise Ranch. It's apparently 100 miles northwest of Las Vegas, originally created for the purposes of surveillance development. Area 51 has become a conspiracy topic. Many believe it to be a center for testing crashed alien spacecraft and a meeting center for extraterrestrials. Though such theories have been disproved and explained by the U.S. military, its real purpose is still unclear as it remains shrouded in secrecy. Here's what I'll say about Area 51.
Ooh.
It's suspect that the U.S. has not just like debunked it outright because they won't show images of it. Like you can do tours of Fort Knox, you can do tours of like the Federal Reserve or whatever. Any government installation that's actually like incredibly secretive, the White House, the Pentagon, you can do tours of.
Yeah.
It's the absence of transparency that it makes me believe like I don't know about aliens, but like there's something that like is so adverse to public reaction they don't even want to like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, it's again like when you really like bring these back, it's like okay, who is the antagonist? The U.S. Military, the U.S. government, pharmaceutical companies. There is like this power struggle between like transparency between large organizations like a state and regular people. But also, you also have to take, I am not a fan of the U.S. militaries in general, but the U.S. military for sure. Like, don't get me wrong, but like, if you do have a government and you have high-tech weapons that you do not want other governments to know, this would be the place to do it, and of course you're not going to show it. But at the same time, like, again, I am not a conspiracy nut where I believe, like, fucking aliens are coming down in spaceships, because I can't come to the point where, like, oh, Area 51 is blocked off because of alien contact, extraterrestrial contact. I don't believe that to be true. I just think they have weapons there that they don't want anybody to know about. They don't want it to get in the wrong hands, quote-unquote, wrong hands. Yeah. Okay, China, and so they don't want anybody to know about these weapons, and I think that's it. Like I think we're pushing it here with the whole extraterrestrial, and I believe in extraterrestrials.
100%.
I don't think they're landing in fucking
Nevada.
Like,
I will 100% freely admit that, like, yes, statistically and just like scientifically, the universe is too large and there's too many planets to support life that, like, for anyone to say that aliens don't exist, I don't think they're. Or rather, I should say, life doesn't exist on other planets because, like, that's absolutely life exists on other planets. We've borderline proved that already by, like, we can see water on some of these planets. Therefore, like, there's certainly, like, bacterial, at least, life on these planets. Whether or not they've made it to the Earth, that I don't agree with. Like, I don't think that that's a thing. I don't think the government's hiding that there's, like, UFOs. Yeah. But I do think, like, 100% with you. Like, whatever you think of, like, the United States doing, and if it's, like, kind of, like, goofy and, like, silly, like there's UFOs, it's always much more nefarious than that. Like, that's where, like, they're holding like Chinese prisoners, or like they're developing weapons that are like so heinous that like they're like not okay with people learning about it. It's always worse than you think when it comes. It's the lowest common denominator.
Well, it's the way I think about it is like, okay, say chemical weapons are illegal, right?
Yeah.
By international law, but say they're still developing them. So you could like if somebody was like, oh, they're developing chemical weapons in Area 51. Most people be like, oh, well, probably, you know.
How do I add somebody
but
Discord?
On an international scale, for the U.S. to be developing chemical weapons illegally, that's what they're probably afraid of, to develop illegal weapons in a general sense. So, because, like, how do I put this? To the average person, we know that U.S. probably has some crazy-ass fucking weapons.
Yes.
In an international court, however, those weapons are illegal to use or even create. And so if you're going to create those weapons, the best thing to do would put it in Area 51 and then not let anybody know about anything. But then there's people like, what was it, Bob Lazar or whatever. You know about Bob Lazar, right?
No. Who are we talking about?
Oh, he's so-called scientist. Sorry, no, he's not multiple people. He's a so-called scientist, and he worked at Area 51 with all the crazy, extraterrestrial tech, and he's come out and he's like talked about it to like multiple podcasts. He's been on Joe Rogan's podcast talking about all this shit. He's like, we have this, we have that, we'll have that. And Joe Rogan's like, oh, with this fucking ape brain, so incredible, and he just believes anything.
You keep going.
I'll keep going. I'll talk into this. And so it's people, instead of like using your like forethought and be like, okay, what is the most, like Occam's razor, what are they most likely doing? Like, let's be real, they're probably developing some sort of weapon that nobody wants to know about. People want some kind of fantastic explanation, and that's what Occam's razor is pretty much like the simplest answer is the most likely answer. And so if you're talking to somebody and they're like, oh, it's most likely aliens, I'm like, realistically it's most likely something that they're developing they don't want anybody else to know about, and that's it. Like I think going so far to be like, oh, it's fucking aliens, like, come on, man, like, be realistic here. But it's fun, these things are fucking fun. It get that mysteriousness, at least gives us some content, it gives us things to think about. I think that's all we need to really say about that one. Barack Obama citizenship conspiracy theories. The term birther refers to someone who subscribes to the conspiracy theory that former President Barack Obama was not born in the United States. The false allegation was initially made in 2004 by Andy Martin, who claimed that Obama was a hidden Muslim rather than a Protestant Christian. As he publicly stated, the theory was amplified by Donald Trump in 2011, and speculation about a presidential run. There we go. And amid speculation about a presidential run, when he claimed that there was something wrong with Obama's birth certificate, Obama later publicly released his birth certificate, which showed that he was actually born in Honolulu, Hawaii.
Yeah, but then they said that that's not the real birth certificate. It became a whole thing. I don't know. This one's dumb. This one's like this is just racism. Like he was born in Africa or he was born in whatever because he's black. I was saying I had to get a haircut and shave my mustache because I had a meeting with my Fed bosses and I had to look professional, which is why I'm clean shaven.
I'm still keeping up with the Fed look,
Yeah.
So what do you think about the whole birther?
I think it's dumb. I think it's rooted in racism.
It's straight up.
Because what do they think he was from?
He was from Indonesia.
They thought he was.
From what I understand, that he was born in Indonesia. That is like the conspiracy theory. But like, okay, so what the whole problem here is like he is not. He's a hidden Muslim rather than a Protestant Christian. One, you can be a Muslim and run for the United States.
Sure,
that's literally not. That's not even if he was a Muslim. Who gives a fuck?
It's like claiming like you're not from Hawaii, you're from Texas. It's like, okay, doesn't actually change anything.
Doesn't change anything. I could still run. If I was a Satanist, I could still run. Technically, I can't run for president because I wasn't born here.
Yeah. Although Cenk Uygur's running for president.
I know. I don't know.
He was on the David. I don't want to get into it too much. I watched like a 30-minute interview with him on the David Pakman show. Cenk Uygur. I don't know why I wanted to claw my eyes out, but like compared to David Pakman, Cenk Uygur's like a radical because David Pakman's like a liberal. But he was like he has a legal argument about being a naturalized citizen. The Constitution, I guess, is vague on like natural born versus naturalized. Apparently, like the wording leaves a little bit open to interpretation, and because it's never been challenged before, no popular candidate not born in the U.S. has ever had a legitimate claim to like presidency. Yeah. It's never really been challenged before. So he's saying there is wiggle room that within the language of the Constitution, like it's actually not as black and white as it seems, as I understood it, but I also wasn't really paying attention.
Maybe they may try to make it black and white so less people run. Well, what would you think should be the rule?
To run for president?
Yeah.
I mean, I think they should abolish the position.
Oh, no fucking shit. Okay, what about our
under our current framework, what should it be? Yeah, being born here doesn't make a difference, right? Yeah. Like Trump is born here. Was that fine? Biden is born here. Is that
no? 100%.
Yeah.
I would just say like at least you have to be like half of your life has to be here.
I don't even say half. I mean like.
I'm meeting with them in the middle.
You have to prove that you've been here. Well, I mean, because that already exists.
Because my problem is like that IDF soldier.
Oh, right.
Like, comes here.
Well, that already is. That's one of the 3 requirements. The 3 requirements to be president are born here, be 35, and have lived here for 7 years. So there already is a length of stay requirement, which is 7 years. So like, I mean, just keep that. Just remove the born here, keep 7 years and 35. Okay. 7 years is long enough to get a feel for the place.
Yeah.
I've been in Seattle for 8 months, and I get it.
The death of Jeffrey Epstein. What do you think about that?
Yeah, okay. There's a lot to be said there. I mean, yeah, I think he definitely didn't kill himself, or at least he was in. The doors were open for him to easily kill himself, I guess, if that makes sense. Like that one's not like I don't even think that's a conspiracy theory. I mean, like he was in a place where like he shouldn't have been able to like kill himself, and he was able to. So like obviously, but I also like again, what was that? It was like this meme or the saying once is like never like claim like nefariousness where like incompetence can be blamed or something, you know what I mean? Like we always want to think that it's like the government's this evil like conspiracy deep state thing where Epstein killed himself, where it's like really just the prison system is completely inept and incompetent, and it's very easy for people to like be harmed and harm themselves in prison. And like I'll try to find the actual quote of like, you know,
but it's like my thinking here is like if he does have ties to like big people, what would stop him from not just fucking whacking him?
It's Hanlon's razor. You were talking about Occam's razor. This is Hanlon's razor. Never attribute to malice that which is adequately explained by stupidity. And that's like, I think more often than not true with the U.S. government, where it's like we want to look for these things of like deep state like conspiracies, but like more often than not it's just like America's incompetence, and like the prison system is like a crumbling mess of like rundown buildings of poorly like infrastructure, not enough guards. Not that we need more guards, but I mean like, you know, there's just all these holes in the system where it allows like brutal prison violence, prison rape runs rampant, like all these things that aren't supposed to happen that we say don't happen, but clearly do happen. So like I would never attribute to malice what can be attributed by stupidity.
True, but there's also a motive. If this guy has connections to everybody and he talks, a lot of people, big people, would go down.
Yeah, this one obviously is a little more, a little different because there is a lot more like susness.
And I'm not talking about the whole child sex ring fucking operation, which there was. He had fucking 15, 14-year-old girls basically doing sexual deeds for very well-known people. But my thing is, like, he just knows a lot of people.
Yeah.
And he probably just has fucking a lot of stuff on a lot of people, a lot of blackmail.
100%. Yeah. I mean, like, we know that he has his, like, little black books of, like, different people that have visited, the Epstein Island or whatever. I don't fully understand the full extent of what could come to light if he did. But, I mean, I think it was in a lot of people's best interest, and it was very lucky for a lot of people that he did die, which would add credence to the conspiracy that like it wasn't an accidental thing. JFK, yeah, dude. I've read a lot about this. I've researched this quite a bit. I'm pretty familiar with the all of the ins and outs. There's like a lot of lore to this. I am now fairly certain that it was George Bush Sr. had some hand in this.
George Bush Sr.? Yeah,
George Bush Sr. was a CIA section chief in Dallas at the time of his assassination. He was a CIA. He was a CIA. He was stationed in. This is all confirmed. He was stationed in Dallas. He has. If you ask anybody who was alive then where they were when Kennedy was shot, they can tell you immediately. It's like 9/11 for us. Maybe not for you because you would have been like 6 or something.
Old, yeah, I don't remember happening.
I remember exactly where I was when the towers came down. That's just something you don't forget, right? And a couple generations ago, that was JFK. George Bush has gone on record, he's been asked where were you, and he's like, oh, and he's kind of fumbled through. He doesn't know where he was. Nobody doesn't have an answer to that question. He was also
unless he was doing something bad.
He was in bed with like Kissinger and a lot of the other, I forget what McNamara or the other like people that were in JFK's cabinet. Like he was like against JFK's policies pretty openly, and he was CIA in Dallas at that time. And I guess like he had like logs, and his logs like the day before and the day after are like missing, and there's just like there's not proof that he did it, but there's a lot of like enough like weirdness around it that it's just too many coincidences stacked on top of each other that like if he didn't like orchestrate it, if he didn't himself do something involved, he had some hand in it, or he at the very least, which the common theory is that he was aware that it was going to happen. And did nothing to stop it. Because Lee Harvey Oswald had attempted an assassination on General Walker like 6 months before JFK. He shot at General Walker in Dallas, put a bullet through his window into his kitchen and missed him. And then like the FBI was watching Oswald for a long time. They knew he did this thing. He had an FBI handler, they're pretty sure too, a guy named what the fuck was his name? There was a guy. He was like a Russian immigrant who was like involved, and he was a Russian national who had like I think he was a naturalized citizen, and he was George something. Damn, I'm blanking on his name. Anyway, I've gone deep into this before, and like Oswald did not act alone, and it was not like a random crime, one-off, unaffiliated. It was not a non-political crime. There's too
You
much.
shoot a president. It's a political crime.
No, but I mean like that the government wasn't involved.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, or like at the very least they knew it was going to happen and chose not to intervene.
Yeah,
Because JFK, like, if you aren't familiar with like the context of like lead up to the Vietnam War, he was not very well liked or respected. He was pretty much opposed to the Vietnam War,
Yeah.
and everyone at the time really wanted the Vietnam War to happen. Like, there was a huge anti-communism fervor, to say nothing of like just a whole other like American sentiment of the American imperialism. There was a lot of goals they had geopolitically in Vietnam, and you know, Kennedy had a lot of qualms and reservations about that. So there was a lot of different people that were not super into the idea of like JFK continuing.
Well, yeah, I mean,
What was his name? George something.
he's gonna go kill you. Huh?
Yeah. You keep going. I'm gonna
Yeah,
look
no,
this up.
I know, like, I've watched documentaries, and from what I understand is JFK was a status quo president, don't get me wrong, but there was times where he put his foot down to the CIA, and I think he just threatened to dismantle the CIA at one point. And so, you know, that doesn't surprise me that motherfucker was shot.
This guy, George Mohrenschildt.
That motherfucker ain't Russian. Let me
Yeah,
tell
he
you.
was a CIA field agent. Yeah, no, he was born in. He's a Russian. He was Belarusian at the time. He was born in 1911 in the Russian
Ain't
Empire.
no Belarusian named George did the.
Yeah,
German-ass
he
name.
supposedly killed himself after the fact too, and he knew. I think this guy knew Jack Ruby really well, because Jack Ruby was like a club owner at the time, the guy who killed Lee Harvey Oswald. So there's just like all of these people knew each other, and they were all connected. And like if you actually start digging into it, it's just so obvious that it was like a conspiracy.
Yeah.
Like this isn't even a conspiracy. This is just like proven at this point that like something was up. There's too many of these weird coincidences.
Yeah.
Yeah. This guy was a known CIA agent that had defected from like Russia, and he was supposedly, there's proof that he had met up with Oswald on a few different occasions, and because Marina, Oswald's wife, was a Russian immigrant, she didn't really speak English because she had moved from Russia because Oswald met her in Russia. He and his wife spoke fluent Russian, so they were at the Oswald household quite a bit.
Because he moved to Russia. To
Oh yeah, he
USSR.
defected from America to the USSR.
For how long was that? Like 10
For
years?
not long, just a couple of years. He met her,
okay.
and then he came back, and then he defected, and so like that's why he was on everyone's radar, because he was an expat that had fled the USSR after he went to Cuba for a while too, I believe.
Just stayed there, man. That just seems like a nice place.
Yeah, so
yeah.
So I don't know. The whole thing was you can spend your life studying that web.
Yeah.
And I'm like half remembering half of the shit, so I don't want to get too into the weeds.
Yeah, there's so much.
But
to
yeah,
things like this.
there's just so much more to it that like it's impossible that it's not an actual like conspiracy plot, like to kill JFK.
Yeah, like I said, I am not surprised that he was shot, because he was known to put his foot down multiple times to the CIA, and to an organization like the CIA, like any sort of like misconduct where they're not agreeing with you, or where you're not working with the CIA in their ideal scenario, they're just gonna fucking put you out. And it's like even if you get to it, like, you know, MLK's assassination.
This was the general that was like pretty. He was like a fascist. He was pretty like hard right, as I understand it. He was like borderline, like he was pro-segregationist. He was like a pretty hardcore piece of shit. And then maybe I'm getting that backwards. I don't know. Sorry. Like I said, I'm kind of like,
You need more beer. It'll straighten out your mind.
Oh yeah, I don't know if that's maybe I have this background. Maybe he was like a liberal. I don't think so. Anyway, he was
scratch a liberal, a fascist bleeds.
Yeah, fair enough. He was the first assassination attempt. I think they later proved that it was Harvey Oswald. The ballistics, I guess, like the bullet that went into his kitchen or whatever, was the rifle that Harvey Oswald. So like, it's just, you know,
so
too much.
Do you think the same thing of like the MLK assassination?
Yeah, they 100% knew about what's his face. He had 3 names too. He was like a Lee Harvey Oswald. It was James Earl Ray.
Okay, yeah.
James Earl Ray, they had been following. I guess he had made like threats publicly against MLK, and the FBI was absolutely watching him, because he'd committed.
Just let it go.
Yeah, because he had committed a crime. Like he had broken into a store or something the night before, and they like had arrested him for it, but then they like let him go, and then he shot King the next day or something. So like
CIA tends to like watch people for a lot, but not do anything. I don't know if watching them is the correct verb they're using.
Maybe I have that backwards. He was convicted of of armed robbery, and then he escaped from the Missouri State Penitentiary. But he had like written letters saying he was going to assassinate King or something. This could be my memory on this is a little fuzzy.
Damn,
it's really putting my history teacher credentials on the spot here. I'm having to come out on all this shit.
There's a lot of things to remember in history, man.
Yeah.
It's not your fault.
I'm keeping
criminal
up barely.
court. So he pled guilty in '69 to Shelby County Criminal Court to the first-degree murder of Dr. King, and he was sentenced to 99 years in the state penitentiary.
Yeah, he died in prison not that long ago, I think, in the like mid 2000s. But I mean, like, this is not. I don't know how familiar you are with like the FBI's harassment of King, but like they had sent him letters begging him to kill himself. Yeah, they were sending him blackmailing letters of like him because he was a philanderer and adulterer. Yeah, he had, which is not a reason to kill somebody for the record.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, don't cheat on your wife, but also if they do, don't kill them.
Yeah, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, but like they had sent him messages saying that they had photos of him and he should kill himself, and like it would be the honorable thing to kill himself. So his wife was like this. So like they had been like there was a constant campaign.
It's an honorable thing to kill yourself.
Yeah, there was a constant harassment campaign against King by the FBI. Christ. He was considered like public enemy number one. He was the biggest like rabble rouser. He was also like, we forget that now, but he was like pretty anti-capitalist. He wasn't like pro-communist per se.
He was a fucking socialist.
He was what we consider today like a democratic socialist, I guess. Like honestly, I would say even probably one step further than that. Yeah. We don't really like remember him for that today, but yeah, he was pretty
he had the whole People's Campaign after the Civil Rights campaign. He had a People's Campaign, and 1 week later, pretty much, he got shot.
Once again, I think like with most of these things, I don't chalk it up to like willful intent. I think it's basically like letting it happen, right? Like I think with JFK, I think with King, I think with like Epstein, I think it's like they didn't set it up so that they did murder them. I think they catch wind that there's a crazy person on the way to murder them, and they just choose not to intervene.
Yeah,
I think that because they can claim deniability, they can claim that they didn't know, and they can keep their hands clean.
But just like in that aspect, but just like in that aspect, the person who is neutral or not doing anything is also at fault.
Well, yeah.
Like, America is not
morally sure.
America is not, bombing Israel. America's not bombing Palestine, the Gaza Strip. Israel is. But those countries that voted no to a ceasefire are just as complicit to me as Israel is. Yeah. Because they have the full power to stop it, but they don't. And so that is, to me, that's basically the CIA or the FBI. They have the full power to stop it. They just did it. So to me, that they basically murdered him because they just let it go.
Yeah, I mean, if you have the capacity to save someone's life and you choose not to, it's kind of like the trolley problem, right? Like, well, I guess it's not the same as the trolley problem. It's the trolley problem as if doing nothing kills somebody and flipping a switch means nobody dies. It's like the easy mode trolley problem.
Yeah, this is like there's only one answer to this trolley problem. Yeah. And anything besides that, you're a psychopath.
Yeah, I don't know. You know what? All right, so let me keep going with my recommendations. There's a good book about the JFK assassination. That's a fiction book. Stephen King, 11/22/63. Which is the date of the JFK assassination. There's a really good book by Stephen King about this, where a guy finds like a portal in present day that takes him back to like 1959 or something, but only that time. So he discovers that he can just go back and forth between present day, and he like only like so much time has passed. Like no time passes in the present, but every time he goes through, he goes back to the same moment in 59 or whatever. Okay. So he can go into 59, but if he wants to, like, I think it's actually 58. That doesn't matter. If he wants to save JFK, he has to live in the 50s and 60s for 5 years, because from 58 to 63. So like if he wants to change anything, he literally has to just wait in that time period. If he fails, he can then just come back and then just reset back to 58 again and then wait 5 more years.
So he can. There's a glitch to live forever.
Well, no, he still ages.
Oh,
he's still aging. The day just resets, and so like that's what the plot of that book is about. It's the guy who just wants to save JFK, and so he has to like live and like get a job and work, and he just kind of chills in the United States in the 50s and 60s, and it's just about story about him doing his thing up until the moment, the day of, where he has to like try to save the president. It's actually a really compelling, really good story.
It seems interesting. I like the story plot to it. Yeah. I was just like, I can't imagine just like, dude, if you can't wait for 5 years, you gotta fucking do it all over again.
Yeah, so like there's the guy who shows him the portal. He's like an old man, and it's because he's tried like 7 times, and he's like failed every time, and like he spent his life just like in like that loop over just trying to save JFK, and now he's like an old man. Because in the future, no time passes. So you go back, you live 5 years, you come back, and no time has passed. So like your friends are all younger than you. You're 5 years older.
But I feel like it'd be so easy to save JFK.
Well, the trick is in the story, like time like pushes back against you. Like it's like fate is like there's a learning curve to it where like you'll get a flat on the way there. You fix your flat, your radiator will bust. You hop on a bus, the bus breaks down.
But if you have 5 years,
if you
have 5 years, you buy a fucking rocket launcher. You save up all money. You work for 4 years straight. Buy a rocket launcher. Take your savings, live off your savings. Walk up, sit in the grass or whatever while they're driving by, and you wait, and they just shoot a rocket launcher. Boom.
Yeah.
And then everybody's freaking out. JFK doesn't even drive down that street because somebody shot a rocket launcher. And
yeah, like that's the obvious answer. The thing is like, you know, you'd get arrested trying to buy the rocket launcher. Like time keeps pushing back against you.
Yeah.
So there's like the supernatural element to that part.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
it's not quite that easy. That's like he gets like diarrhea on the way there. It's like just like shit keeps happening to him that's like prevents him from like doing it. Anyway, read the book. It's really cool.
Yeah.
It's one of Stephen King's better
Read
books.
the book.
Yeah. They made a TV show about it with James Franco on Hulu. It was really bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a really bad adaptation of 11/22/63.
Moon landing conspiracy theories.
Yeah,
This
the whole
one-
Stanley Kubrick filmed it. I know that one.
Oh my god, man.
No, I don't believe that at all. I think
No,
that's-
not a single
I
second
think
of it.
that's the Twinkie paradox or whatever, like the cost of a Twinkie and a Coke in 1969 or whenever the Apollo program started in like the early 60s or whatever. At that time, it was much more cost effective to send a man to the moon, and then over time with inflation, it just became
I'm gonna ask you this. Illuminati.
Illuminati. You gonna jump from moon landing to Illuminati?
Yeah, I mean, it seems about right.
I think once again, the reason I have such a trouble with conspiracy theories is like all of this is easily explained by like just like looking around you. Yes, there is the deep state does exist. Yes, Illuminati does exist. It's called like Wall Street and like the Senate and like yes, there is a secret cabal of people that run the world. It's just not all that secret. It's like the Koch brothers and that company that Pete Buttigieg worked for, not Blackwater.
BlackRock?
No, he worked for like.
Oh, BlackRock is part of that group.
Yeah, it's Pete Buttigieg worked for like this like PR company basically. That like they're like the biggest like shady like riggers of like world elections and shit. It starts with an M.
Monsanto.
No,
But they're also part of that, the agricultural.
Yeah, because like Pete Buttigieg like went to the CIA out of Harvard and like
Jesus, I mean that's
McKinsey and Company. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I watched a whole ass fucking documentary about them.
So that's why everyone thought Pete Buttigieg was like a CIA like op to like give the presidential election to Trump because he was in the CIA out of Harvard, then worked for McKinsey Company after the CIA, and like it's just like, dude, so fucking shady. Like.
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah.
McKinsey expanded into Europe during the 1940s and 50s and the 60s.
Oh, maybe he didn't work for the CIA. He went into McKinsey after Harvard. Or he was in the military and then he went to McKinsey.
But like, I think a lot of people come out of Harvard and other like prestigious schools to go to McKinsey and Company, and then where did they go after that? I know a lot of them go
CIA, politics, like they infiltrate all of the branches of the government, much like the Illuminati. That's what I'm saying. Like, the Illuminati exists. It's called McKinsey and Company. It's not like I don't think it's much of a secret. I think those of us,
BlackRock. It's like all these major corporations that own like 4%.
I think people want it to be like more mysterious than it is.
They want it to be like satanic.
It's
they all
like
pray
not,
to Satan.
Man. It's like it's all about
they
capital.
Pray to money.
It all comes down to capital and like
they pray to money and they pray to power.
Furthering America's interests, which is at the bottom line still just about money. So
yeah, like it's all about money and power.
That's the problem I have with conspiracy theories is that like once you get to the root of it, it's just either about capital or furthering America's interest, which is an indirect way of saying capital. So it's like none of them are really that surprising. That's just about capital. You should get down with some Sour Patch Kids. That's Sour Patch Kids face. QAnon's a big one. I mean, that's a whole thing. I'm still suspect. I'm suspicious that Q is a single person and not, again, a government like psyop. Supposedly, there's like one person that posts on like 4chan with the official it's the official Q is the person that posts.
Yeah.
And says they're going to reveal themselves, whatever. This is going to happen, and they've been like leaving these breadcrumbs for like the past like 8 years or whatever. I'm not unconvinced that that's not like multiple people or like multiple government agencies.
I agree.
Yeah. I
agree. I mean, what a better way to control a bunch of fucking idiots than to, create something like this. And it's funny because like they always call other people sheeple.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, dude, you are like the most like hypocritical idiot I've ever met in my life.
Yeah.
You can't think with like any type of like critical thinking. You can't evaluate any political theory or like even like look into an economy and actually understand how things work. They just be like, nope, demons.
Yeah, Satan worshipping pedophiles.
Yeah, and it brings me to like people like Alex Jones, and like I think I've talked about it before, but like there's I've heard a theory from Hassan Piker that Alex Jones is a CIA operative.
I wouldn't be surprised
Because he'll spout out like 10% of the truth. He's like, we should have never gone to war in Iraq. The reason why we went to war is because of extraterrestrial vampires. And you're just like, what, dude? What? It's like no. He's right. And then he whips you with and what happens is like he'll say truthful things. He'll say truthful things. He gives you a grade of truth, and then he says something absolutely ridiculous right afterwards. And what it does, it not only people not only disassociate from the crazy shit that he says, but also from the truth. Because now people, every time you say something like, the government is in cahoots with corporations, they immediately think you're, a conspiracy theorist instead of just stating factual things that have evidence. And I think that's what it is. Like they're trying to destroy any sort of dissent by making it look ridiculous.
Yeah.
With people like Alex Jones, there's no way this guy, unless he's like he's off his medication, like Kanye West. There's no way it's real, And then when Nick Fuentes went on his fucking show. Mm-hmm. Or was it? No, it was Kanye West went on a show, and he's like, "No, he's like Hitler." I was like, I like Hitler. There's many good things I like about Hitler, and Alex Jones' face is like, you mean some of the things? Yeah, the uniforms. They're like, he's like, no, I like Hitler, and he's like, even Alex Jones was like, yeah. He knows. He is not out of his mind. He knows because he'll say things like there's extraterrestrial vampires, but then when you say, "Oh, Hitler did good things," he'll back off.
Yeah.
So it's just like there. So there is cognitive. There is a cognitive person in there.
There's a limit.
There is a limit. There is critical thinking, and you know where to draw the line. So everything that you say is made up.
Yeah, Alex Jones is a weird one because I agree that I think he started as a normal guy doing his normal right-wing shill shit. I think there's so much more money in right-wing shill than there is in left-wing news, right? It's so easy to just get a deal on Ben Shapiro's website if you're just willing to because it's Candace Owens is? It's the same thing. Candace Owens used to be a liberal news person, and then she supposedly got mugged or something. She supposedly had one incident in college which just made her a fascist, or according to her. And so it's just it's so much. And what the truth was is that she was probably offered a job to be a right-wing grifter, and it's so much more lucrative to be a right-wing grifter than it is to be to tell the truth.
Black lady supporting fascist ideas.
Yeah. So I think that's true of Alex Jones too. Is he found that it was he could pick up an audience, and it was more lucrative for him to be this wacko right-wing conspiracy theory guy. And I think that somewhere along the line he was reached out to or propped up or somehow promoted or influenced by the CIA or the FBI or some kind of wing of the American government. I don't think he was a CIA plant. I think that happened naturally, and over time he either built a relationship or this relationship of convenience or something with the CIA.
I think he began normally, as one would with journalistic blah blah blah, news reporter blah blah blah, and then he became a CIA plant when they offered him. And not that he's in the CIA, he is something that is attached to a CIA, but he does his own thing. But he does have a boss that.
What do you call that? An asset. He's a CIA asset.
Thank you, a CIA asset. And so that to me makes the most.
He has a handler and all that.
Yeah, that to me makes no sense. He does his own thing, but when the CIA says, "Hey, you got to say something about this," and blah blah blah, he goes, "Okay, I got you."
I just can't imagine that you can't be that big and that influential in those spaces and not have some contact.
Yeah.
Hell, even J.T. Chapman had the FBI visit him.
Yeah, they went to his door.
Yeah, so if you're unfamiliar, J.T. Chapman is the one of the hosts of the Deprogram. He has the Second Thought and First Thought YouTube channels. He's a pretty
he's pretty big, man.
Pretty big,
1.6 million.
Yeah, pretty big leftist influencer, for lack of a better term. But he's not pulling Alex Jones numbers. Alex Jones is hundreds of millions. So even JT Chapman got the feds knocking on his door. So yeah, if you have the kind of clout in the audience that Alex Jones has, you better believe the government is interested to see how can they best manipulate that to serve their interests.
You know what? Here's a tinfoil hat on. Ever heard of something called real life lore?
Real life lore? No.
Look it up on YouTube.
Right click me. Okay. Not having a right click on a mouse is real bullshit.
7.35 million views.
Hey, let's go. Is this legit?
Well, so
This is my hometown. Or not my hometown, but
he does pretty good work. However, when it comes to political situations, God, if the CIA didn't write the script for him.
Oh yeah.
Because look how many followers I used to watch this page religiously.
Yeah.
You know how many 7.35 million is? 7.35 million is more subscribers than JT, Hasanabi, David Pacman combined.
Yeah, David Pacman's still like under 2 million.
Yeah, it's more than all three of them combined.
No.
And then like when he does when they do like geography types of videos, it's educational. It's really nice. It's nice to watch because it's fun. The graphics are great.
Yeah.
The way they do everything is very well put together, professional. But when they pop up politics in it, it's as if the CIA wrote what exactly. And so that it's like these types of channels is like they're trying to. I feel like the CIA and like governmental agencies are trying to use these channels to influence people's thinking.
Well, once again, I would be surprised. I would be shocked if like for the huge super big channels that like there wasn't a wing of the CIA or FBI that's monitoring these and has feelers out to them, and like it may not be overt. It may not be like, hi, we're with the CIA. Do you want to partner? It's like people trying to get like almost like how they would infiltrate any leftist group because they're doing the same thing, kind of like introducing themselves as PR through a wing of McKinsey or something of like management or like talent agencies or some way to get into that like inner circle and then like slowly
What
influence
about just money?
or through some way of like
do
offering.
your government a favor. Here's a $2 million house.
Well, I'm pretty sure like Good Mythical Morning was like a 20 million. I don't know if you're familiar with Good Mythical Morning.
Dude, me and my girlfriend watch them religiously.
Yeah, well, I'm pretty sure they've done like sponsored with the U.S. military like videos and stuff in the past. Like,
yeah.
I mean, it's if there's the new like because like the Army has a marketing department. The Department of Defense has a whole marketing.
Well, they have to pay for their fucking. They have a lot of people on their team, and they have to pay salaries and shit.
Yeah,
so
like
I understand.
The Defense Department has a marketing.
So I don't feel too much.
They don't get political, but they'll do like this one's brought to you by like the U.S. Air Force recruiting, and it's just be like it'll be an ad for like the U.S. Air Force, like how there was ads for the U.S. Air Force at the beginning of Captain Marvel, like and then
no, I get that, but like for me,
it's what feels harmless or it seems harmless, but really what it is like it's the government like infiltrating, for lack of a better term, like just apolitical entertainers.
Yeah,
that's for
100%.
Apolitical. If you add like they're political, especially like right wing politicals, then you can see how very easily the government would be much more inclined to wiggle in there.
One of them that always throws me fucking off is what's his fucking face?
Steven Crowder?
Yeah. Dude has like 4 million subs.
He did. He got banned, didn't he?
I know.
He's off YouTube now.
Yeah, but still 4 million subs. I met one person that watched Steven Crowder. I've met
one. I know one person. He sent me a video. I was like, "Have you seen this guy?" And I'm like, "It is a guy who's like is not political at all." And I'm like, I have to like,
oh
like,
my God. Like, how do I even start this?
Yeah, like I just started typing up a dissertation about why he shouldn't like watch this guy, but this guy's not very political. I had to have a really frank conversation about trans, like what that is basically, and like why it's okay to not to like leave them alone.
Yeah.
And like I was just like, dude, it's just this guy's. He's harmless in that he's like so apolitical. He doesn't really like. He's very easy to sway one way or the other.
Yeah,
but like, so he'll send me like videos of like right wing shit. That's like, oh look what my friend sent me. This is interesting, right?
Yeah,
and I'll be like, no, this is why that's not. He's like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. And then tomorrow I'll be like, hey, but what about that? And so it's just like this constant ping ponging of like, dude, first of all, think for yourself. Yeah. But second of all, like, I'm glad that you're open to it.
I have a few friends that are like that. They'll send me something, and I'm like, dude, this is the most right wing shit I've ever seen in my life. And it's like,
typically
it's
like white males. Yeah,
it is.
Yeah,
it is.
It's like it'll be like homophobic or like vaguely racist stuff. And it's like, here's why you can't do this, man. Like,
I have a Japanese friend. Like, he probably would never fucking watch this. I was friends for a long time, and he'll always post right wing, like not post right wing stuff, but like we're in like this. It's called, I think it's like 2 inches or less Instagram group. It's just a chat like with five of us, 6 of us friends.
Okay.
He always post like, oh, I'm making fun of trans people.
But
it's not. It's like borderline political, but it's not, and it's like, or gay people.
But it is like they don't. Political. He doesn't know that it is what it is.
Like, no, he knows that it is.
Oh, okay.
But he's just being slight about it, and I'm just like, it's not funny. I'm like, yeah, I guess maybe because he's Japan, he just kind of he is a capitalist, like pure capitalist, and he watches Steven fucking Crowder, right? And I'm just like, how the fuck did it come to this point where you are watching Steven Crowder? You're like, you're a Japanese dude. This guy would put you in an internment camp. Like you really think this guy has your best interest? He's a racist fuck, and he would literally he does not give two shits about you.
Yeah.
And
that's the thing is dude, I would fucking love to not that I'm some great debater, nor am I a debate bro, nor am I even all that smart, but I feel like I would fucking crush Steven Crowder in a conversation.
Oh, absolutely.
Because these guys, they get their whole persona, their whole cloud is based off ambushing 19-year-olds on college campuses who aren't prepared, who are it's just if you just
and then I'll still see them get crushed sometimes.
Yeah, and they still get pushed back against, but more often than not they do come out looking much more coherent and much more logical because they have prepared talking points that were done by a team of researchers. They ambushed an 18-year-old, blindsided them, and just shoved a camera and a microphone in their face and said, "Oh, what do you think about trans people or whatever?" And it's you're obviously not equipped to have a real conversation at that point. But the moment you put anybody who knows anything in front of them, they crumble and they just fold like a cheap suit.
Yeah.
And it's just man, I would fucking love the opportunity one day to just first and foremost just punch Steven Crowder in the face.
Absolutely.
But after that, just have an actual conversation with him or Ben Shapiro or Candace Owens or any of these people, and
I wouldn't have any conversation. I'd just be this guy.
Yeah, I guess that's probably true. I would probably just turn down the opportunity to just talk to Ben Shapiro. But man,
I would love to talk to Ben Shapiro. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is these people are not. They're not there for genuine conversations. I believe that they don't believe half of what they spew, and that they're CIA assets basically just spewing up conspiratorial bullshit. They're spewing up capitalist rhetoric.
Yeah, just any clip I ever see of these guys talking to anybody really, it's almost always college students, but anytime they're talking to anybody, it's such logical fallacies and these weird false equivocations that in the moment, when you're under these lights and you're 19 years old or whatever, you're not really equipped to break down. But me watching it, and to say that I guess to be fair, in a live scenario, I might also not catch these, but watching them back on YouTube, I'm these are easily debunkable arguments.
It's just because it's in the moment. But if you took your time and hold up, let me actually pull out articles, research articles, put them in a nice formatted way, you would absolutely obliterate.
Well, that's why I like did you ever get a chance? And if you haven't, you still really should go back and listen to the Turn Leftist debates against Prax Ben or whatever his name was. He's a libertarian right-wing guy, and it's the Turn Leftist people versus these two libertarians, and they're just so fucking funny because it's basically guys who have been pushing around kids online their whole political career, for lack of a better term, and then they're finally faced with guys who know what they're talking about, and they fucking crumble, and it's just their arguments just go up against a brick wall of land rights or water rights or whatever, and it's somebody says, yeah, but what about this obviously logical thing, and they're oh, it's whatever. And it's just they have no answer to it, and I just love watching people push back against people that are used to bullying people, and then actually have their points pushed back. Yeah, because right wing ideology is just so superficial and so wrong. More often than not, it's just based in a false pretense, or their foundational beliefs are just incorrect. So if you root away the foundation, their entire argument can fall. And it's always so easy if you have the wherewithal of a conversation to just debunk.
If you've ever noticed, it's there's two major types of conservatives, right wingers. There's the bro science guys, which is I guess new style Joe Rogan guys, and Steven Crowder, who just come up with horrible logical fallacies on the spot that can be disputed if you actually pull up the correct article. And then there's a conservative types where they use religion as their moral compass. Yeah. And we're well, LGBTQ, gays, this is immoral, blah, blah, blah. And it's based off what? It's of Sky Daddy? Just you're using something that nobody can prove exists to claim that this is immoral, that when these people exist and the thing that you're worshiping has actual no proof of existence. Yeah. So I'm you cannot bring your moral judgment into this when your whole morality is based upon a book from 3,000 years ago that we can't even prove really was there.
Yeah, I mean, that's obviously really frustrating, right? Is when somebody bases policy decisions on their own personal beliefs, right?
Exactly.
You should never be able to dictate how someone else lives based on your opinion, right? I don't like onions on pizza, but that doesn't mean that I should outlaw onions in America, right? Because you may that, and that's literally, I mean, that sounds silly, but that's literally the same argument. It's that simple of because you believe life begins at conception, the scientific community community disagrees, but because the person in charge does believe that, then that's the way it is and abortion's outlawed. Even though the science says that it doesn't. You personally, not knowing anything about science.
But what's crazy is like you turn around and be like, all right, in your own Bible, there's like a way to concoct a fucking little potion to cause an abortion, pretty much.
Like terminate a pregnancy?
Terminate a pregnancy in the Bible. And from what I understand, there's nowhere in the Bible that it says you can't have an abortion. So they're like creating these...
Yeah, I think like there's a couple spots where it talks about like all life is precious kind of thing, right? That's like New Testament stuff, I think. I don't know. I'm not a Bible scholar. I know.
Yeah, no.
I know my Bible knowledge ends where the history ends of like Jesus like crucified by the Romans, like, you know, the certain disciples that were there in, you know, that region at the time. I know my Bible history is only up to snuff so long as there's actual historical evidence to back it up.
Yeah.
Like I know the real history of the region, not the biblical history.
The Levant, and that they spoke Aramaic, the Jesus spoke
Aramaic. I mean, all of these people existed, right? Like they're all real people. Saul was like a lawyer, I think. And Jesus renamed him Paul, which is a pretty Chad move. He's like,
Paul, but did he rename him Paul?
I thought so.
I don't, like, in English, yes. But for example, Jesus, his name is not Jesus.
Yeah, I guess that's...
If you go back, his name was Isa.
Yeah, I mean, that's
so it's
like
just
the
like,
King James
yeah,
version of it. But I guess, like, you know, Paul's real name wasn't Paul.
Yeah,
Jesus renamed him.
You told me some Syrian dude from 2,000 years ago that spoke Aramaic was named Paul. Or that spoke Hebrew.
Like, so, my name's Paul.
It's like, really? It's like, dude,
I'm from Long Beach. I like surfing.
Yeah. This fucking Indian dude comes up. He's like, yeah, my name is Kevin.
Yeah.
You're like,
sus. Well, it always makes me feel like that always makes me feel bad, dude, when like I'm on like a call center call and it's like a very obvious like West Asian, like
Southern Asian.
Yeah, or Southern Asian, like Indian, Pakistani, Bengali, whatever person, and it's like, oh, my name's Kevin. And it's like, oh man, like you can use your real name, man. I'm not racist, man.
Yeah,
it's cool, man. Like I'd like to know your real name, Kevin. Yeah, like I'm pretty sure your name's not Kevin.
Well, I think. From their perspective, I totally understand, you know, because people don't take you seriously. As an immigrant, I get it.
Yeah.
You know, and I had...
and that's unfortunate, because, like, I'm not an asshole, so I'm like, yeah, man, I'm trying to just have a conversation with you.
Exactly,
yeah.
But they don't know that. They're just,
they're just trying to get their job done. I get it.
They're talking to some American fuck.
Like, did you unplug it? Did you plug it back in? Like, I'm on customers. I waited for an hour. I'm grumpy, so it's like, I get it. Yeah.
One of my best friends, he's from Punjab in India.
Okay.
His name is... And we call him Guri. But whenever I go somewhere, he never actually tells people his name. So some places he's like, oh, that's G-Bone. Oh, I'd go to, like, he went to college, right? I'm not going to dox him. He went to college in his college town. They called him Jesus. His name would, like, when in his business, because he was working, like, the finance sector for a little bit, his name was Gary.
Okay.
And so, like, this man went by many names. It almost seems like some kind of folklore thing, right? But it's like he changed his name, and he's smart about this. He knew exactly what he's doing. He changed his name in scenarios and settings where he can get the most benefit out of having a certain connotation to his name. Right? And so it's like that. It makes sense why he did that, but it's just kind of low of society that we have to get to that point.
It's more on us. I mean, like it's an indictment on us. That's where I always feel kind of bad. I mean, it's like you can call yourself whatever you want to call yourself, and it's maybe it's racist of me to assume your name's not Kevin if you have a thick Indian accent. I'm guessing it's not, but maybe it is. Who knows?
Maybe it is. Like,
but it just makes me like it's just a little bit sad. Of like it's just like it sucks that like as a society you can't just say what your fucking name is because like you don't want to offend some dude from Texas when you're on customer support or whatever. Anyway, want to be done? We've been doing this for like 2 hours.
It's been close to that.
Only 100 minutes, I guess.
Yeah. But yeah. Thanks, guys. This was very fun. Don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe. If you are chance going to be listening to this on, are you going to put this on an audio?
Yeah, I'm just going to convert the video.
Yeah, so convert the video. Okay, perfect. If you're listening to this on audio, please rate our podcast, whatever podcast source you're using, whether it be Spotify, this Audible one. I don't even know if they make Apple Music, whatever. Apple Podcasts.
Yeah, Apple Podcast, Spotify. We're actually.
Please rate them. When you rate our podcast, it kind of expands it more and more. Yeah, so Spotify is 40%. Apple Podcasts. Podcast Addict.
I don't know what Podcast Addict is, but
or
that
Google Podcasts.
6% of our
web browser, like an old man. That's okay. We still love you.
I used to use Pocket Cast. That was nice.
Yeah. So
Overcast.
Instagram audio podcast. What? Interesting.
Yeah.
But anyways,
it's mostly Spotify and Apple Podcasts.
Yeah.
Spotify and Apple Podcasts make up for 65% of our downloads. So on those two apps in particular, it really does help us if you rate and review, leave a 5-star review, and just leave a comment, leave a review on the podcast. That really does push us up on the Apple Podcasts and Spotify kind of recommended podcasts.
Yes.
Yeah. So that would go a long way to helping us out, as would telling a friend, subscribing, liking, sharing that with a friend, saying, "Hey, look at these two handsome debonair men talking about amazing political content, not just drinking in a basement, eating stuffed Sour Patch Kids." We can do both things. Can be true.
You're calling me out so hard, bro.
Hey, I'm right there with you. Por qué no los dos? Why not both? So we can do both things. We can eat pizza and drink beer and eat Sour Patch Kids in a basement and talk about news and politics. That's a tagline.
Yeah, this is that's our new bio. That's our new bio. You'll see that in our bio next week.
We never once used the other camera. We should have done that.
That's okay.
Yeah. I don't even know if it's set up. Actually, let's see. Oh yeah, it sure is. Now you can see all the pizza and shit on our desk.
Oh, this should be the fucking photo right here.
In our weird little den, our basement den.
Yeah. Oh, that's kind of cool photo, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Dominoes. But anyways, thank you guys. This is like the world's longest ending.
So we already said all the YouTube and podcast stuff. The socials, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. Go give us a follow there. Revolutionary Rhetoric, wherever you get your everythings.
OnlyFans.
OnlyFans.
No, we are not on OnlyFans.
Although OnlyFans does donate a lot to Israel, I think we found out recently.
Death to OnlyFans.
Yeah, there are some OnlyFans content creators that are abandoning OnlyFans because they are, I guess, I don't know if they donated to Israel, but they're in some way anti-Palestine, pro-Israel.
I think they donated to AIPAC or something.
Yeah, they donated to something that inadvertently gives money to Israel. So I think a lot of conscientious OnlyFans content creators are abandoning that platform.
Go to Fansly.
For Fansly, exactly right.
Go to Fansly. Yeah. A lot of people are switching over. If you freaking hate the goddamn Israeli government.
Yeah. You know what?
Due diligence.
We should have a conversation about this, and this is something that two white guys should absolutely talk about, which is
dude,
women.
Every fucking video. Yeah. Every fucking video. You can listen.
We want to.
You don't have to.
We want to have beer in the basement.
Yourself.
I don't know how to stop. Okay, probably stop streaming.
All right. Well, see ya.